Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. You'll notice that it is a slightly larger verse than normal, and there are some complications, so this will be a bit of a longer video than normal, but let's dig in. Kai synetelesin ha theos in te hemera te hekte ta erga autu, ha apoiesin, kai katepausin te hemera te hebdame, apopantun ton ergon autu, hon apoiesin. Let's start back with this first verb here, synetelesin. We've seen a form of this previously in Genesis 2:1. This is soon teleo, which means to complete or to bring to completion. With this sigma, you see the en ending third singular, epsilon here after the prepositional prefix. This is a third singular aorist active indicative with God as the subject. So, and God finished or God completed. Now, we're going to find out when here in a second. Well, let's go ahead and finish. What did he complete here? Ta erga autu, his works. This erga referring all the way back to Genesis 1, all the different stuff that God has made. But when did he do this? Well, it starts with in te hemera, a nice prepositional phrase here. It's dated because of the in the day. Which day? Well, in attributive position after the te, we have te hekte. Now, hekte here is from hektos, and that means sixth. Now, that might sound funny. If you're familiar with Genesis 2:2 from the Hebrew that will typically be translated in the Bibles that you have, like NIV or ESV or whatever, it will read the seventh day because the underlying Hebrew in the Masoretic is Shevi'i. Notice that the Septuagint says that God finished all of his works on the sixth day, but if you can look it up, the translations derived from the Hebrew will say he finished all of his works on the seventh day. And this is this difference here is a massive debate among Septuagint scholars. There's essentially two options. Either whoever's doing this translation of Genesis 2:2 has a different word in the Hebrew in front of him, other than seventh, it might have been shesh instead, or, so that's one option, different Hebrew source, or this choice to use hektos here could have been a deliberate interpretive modification, which is a bit unusual for the Genesis translator. We'll see it more often for other translators in other books. Be a little bit unusual in Genesis, but it's possible. Perhaps they thought that, well, it doesn't make sense that God finished all of his works on the on the seventh day, because that might imply that God worked on the seventh day. So maybe they changed it to hektos. The jury's still out, frankly. No one really knows exactly what happened here. But what we have in the Septuagint of Genesis 2:2 is that God finished on the sixth day, whereas the Masoretic has the seventh day. We have a nice little relative clause here. The ha is pointing back to the erga, that which he made. Apoiesin, that poieo verb has been used a lot. Third singular aorist there. Then what did God do? He katepausin. This is from katepauo. Once again, we have a sigma there, an epsilon after the prepositional prefix. This means to rest. Now we have that answer. Third singular aorist active indicative. What did he do on the seventh day? He rested. And on that note, once again, we have the te hemera, like we did up here. Which day did he rest? The hebdome day. And this is the feminine form because it's modifying hemera. It's from hebdomos, which is the Greek word for seventh. So he rested on the seventh, having finished on the sixth. And he rested from pantun ton ergon. Notice apa here takes the genitive. He rested from all of the works. Which works? His works. And then hon here is pretty interesting. Hon here is referring back to all of these works. Notice it's a relative pronoun just like we had up here, but it's matching the case of the ergon. And you finish with apoiesin here, third singular aorist. You would normally expect the object of poieo to be accusative. In this case, it is genitive. And you do see this sometimes where and it could either be just a modification of the case of the object case of poieo here, instead of it being accusative, it's genitive, or it could be that it's attracted to the ergon and so forth in the prior clause. Either way, it's he rested on the seventh day from all of his works, which he did. The hon apoiesin there would be which he did. So a lot of interesting stuff going on in Genesis 2:2.